Okay, you guys, y'all are going to work problems that start one-factor medication problems, and it's going to start on page 75. You're going to have some other reading material along with it. I'm trying something new because I know sometimes it's kind of hard to see my smart board, so I'm trying a different light. You guys tell me if this works or if it doesn't. So I'm going to work a few from each one of the exercises on 4, and then you guys are going to work the rest of them. Okay, so exercise 4.3, it says the physician has ordered. So what you want to do right first is write order. And then supply. Okay, so what the doctor has ordered is acromycin or tetracycline 0.25 grams. 0.25 grams every 12 hours. Q12 hours. So every 12 hours. So that's what's been ordered. 0.25 grams every 12 hours. For acne, the dose of the medication on hand, so that is your supply, is 250 milligrams per capsule. So what you have is 250 milligrams per capsule. Okay? So here's what we do. Our order is always first. So our order is 0.25 grams over 1, because that's for one patient. And it wants to know how many capsules we will give. So in the end, over here, I'm going to write blank capsules. Caps. Because that's what I know. I've got to figure out how many capsules. So that's how I know. Now, what I have on hand, or what's going to go next, is supply. So one capsule equals 250 milligrams. Now, the reason why I want to set that up that way is because these are 2 units of weight, okay? So I'm putting my units of weight together. But what I need is my capsules, right? Well, I can't mark out grams or milligrams, so I have to put in a conversion. So to convert grams to milligrams, so my milligrams is on the bottom here, I need my milligrams to be on the top so I can cancel it out. So there's 1,000 milligrams in 1 gram. So now I got rid of my milligrams, I got rid of my milligrams. I can get rid of my grams, right, because they're opposite each other. I can cross cancel those out. Excuse me, guys. Now what I'm going to do is multiply all the way across the top and all the way across the bottom. So it's going to be 250 over 250. When I divide that, I'm going to give that patient 1 capsule, right? So that is the first one. That is 4.3, exercise 4.3. That's number 1. Now I'm going to do number 5 on exercise 4.3. Same thing. I want my order. I want my supply. And what am I going to have to, what's the question asking? So number 5 says Thorazine, grain 1/2. So I'm going to, it's ordered 0.5 because that's half, right? Grains. PO, that's PO is by mouth. TID, and that's 3 times a day. Okay, so it's 3 times a day. What I have on hand is Thorazine 30 milligram capsules. So I have 30 milligram capsules. And it wants to know how many capsules I'm going to give. So right over here, I need to write cap. So I know in the end, I've got to end up with the number of capsules I'm going to give. Okay, so our order is 0.5 grains over 1 dose, because it didn't ask us how many we're going to give in the whole day. They want to know how many caps we're going to give per dose. And what we have on hand is 1 capsule, because remember, we have 30 milligrams capsules, but we need our units of measure, our units of weight to be opposite each other, so 30 milligrams. Now, we know or we should know by conversion, we can't, milligrams and grains are not the same. So we've got to put in a conversion factor. Our conversion factor is, so our milligrams on the bottom, so we need to put milligrams on top. 60 milligrams equals 1 grain. So now I got rid of my grains and I got rid of my milligrams, right? So now I'm going to multiply all the way across and I get 30 over 30, right? Because 0.5 times 60 is 30. 30 times 1 is 30. So I'm going to give, when I do that, that equals 1. So I'm going to give 1 capsule. It is important to put 1 capsule, 1 tablet, 50 milligrams, 50 milliliters. Be sure that you put your unit of measure there, because if you don't, part of your problem will be wrong. Okay, so that is 4.3. Now, we're going to look at exercise 4.4. We're going to look at the first one. Now, it's got some questions about that we're actually going to skip 4.4 for right now, and we'll come back to that. But be familiar with, or just look at those, because this is how you look at the label, the components of the label. What would be on the label of the medication. So if you look at example 4.5 above it, it tells you that the trade name is Tagamet, and that the generic name is underneath that where it says Cimetidine tablets. The dose of the medication is 200 milligrams. It's up at the top. It tells you that the form of the medication, it tells you underneath it that there's 100 tablets in that bottle. Then if we look on down, it has an expiration date. Where's our expiration date? It doesn't have one. We can't see the expiration date or the lot number on it, which would be in that black strip on the left by the barcode. And then we look at the bottom, it tells us our prescription is, it's made by Smith, Klein, and Beecham. I've changed my mind. I do want you guys to do exercise 4.4. So I'm going to do number 1 and I'm going to do number 1, and you guys are going to do 2 and 3. So number 1, if we look at exercise 4.4, we look at our label, then the brand name, I'm going to put this up under here, hopefully you guys can see it. Not so well, let me zoom in a little more. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to get it where you can kind of see it anyway. Let me move my keyboard. Sorry for all the noise. Okay, so we can see this one a little better. So it asks for the trade name. Cipro is the trade name. Then it asks for the generic name. It's underneath Cipro in parentheses, and it says ciprofloxacin hydrochloride. So it's right underneath it. It says that the dosage of this medication is 500 milligrams, right there in orange. And the form of this medication, underneath that, it says 100 tabs. Then the expiration date. So we can't, it doesn't say expiration date on there or the batch number, but they would both be here on the side of this label. The last thing it asks is for the manufacturer, and the manufacturer is Bayer. Okay? B-A-Y-E-R, Bayer. So that's how you're going to look at those labels. You got a couple of those to look at. Now let me zoom back out. So hopefully you guys can see me work here in a second. Okay, so y'all are going to do that one. Now we're going to Look at exercise 4.6. Your order, let me turn that light off. Okay, your order is for, on exercise 4.6, page 86, your order is for phenobarbital, 0.5 grains, half a grain, PO daily for convulsions. What we have on hand, our supply, is 20 milligrams per 5 milliliters. Okay, so we're going to set that up. The order's always first. We're going to give 0.5 grains over 1. Over 1 times what we have on hand. Now we have a unit of weight and a unit of volume. So we're going to put the volume on top because we need to cross cancel out, and it's asking, and it asks how many milliliters. So we got to figure out how many milliliters we're going to give. Right? That's what we want to know. How many milliliters? That's what we need to figure out. How many milliliters? So we're going to put 5 milliliters over 20 milligrams. That's our supply, right? And we know we have to get rid of our grains, but we have to convert from grains to milligrams because it's in milliliters per milligram, right? So we know that 60 milligrams equals 1 grain. And so we're going to get rid of our grains. We're going to get rid of our milligrams. We're going to multiply all the way across the top, and we multiply 0.5 times 5 times 60, and we get 150 over 20, which means we're going to give 7.5 milliliters, okay? We'll give 7.5 milliliters. Let me write that down a little lower. It equals 7.5. So we'll give 7.5 milliliters. That's what we're going to administer to this patient. Okay? And if we drew that up in the syringe, we would do 7 and a half milliliters on that side. So 7.5 milliliters is also a teaspoon and a half. Okay, so there's just 4 of those, so I'm going to work number 4 also. I'll work number 4 also. Okay, so number 4 says our order is for lactose 20 grams PO 3 times a day for hepatic encephalopathy. So that's for somebody with a liver disorder. So our order is for 20 grams 3 times a day, right? And what we have on hand is 10 grams per 15 milliliters, okay? And it wants to know how many ounces we'll give. Uh-oh, we got some more conversions there, so we got to give ounces, blank ounces, right? Okay, so we're going to set it up, 20 grams over 1, and what we have on hand is 15 milliliters equals 10 grams, right? So we can get rid of our grams. But it asks for ounces, not milliliters. So now we need to know that 1 ounce equals 30 milliliters, right? 1 ounce equals 30 milliliters. So now all we have left is the right unit of measure, ounce. That's all we have left. So now we're going to multiply all the way across the top. 20 times 15 times 1 equals 300. And then when we divide, and then we're going to multiply 10 times 30, which also equals 300, which means we're going to give 1 ounce. Right? We're going to give 1 ounce. 300 divided by 300 equals 1. Okay, so that's number 4. All right. Now, if we look over on page 92, there is some more exercises. This one has 5, and then you guys are going to have some questions that you're going to work through. Okay, you guys are going to work through some questions after this. So I'm going to work 1 and 5, and you guys are going to do exercise 4.7, and then you're going to do the summary exercises, and there are 10 of those, okay? All right, so number 1 says we have atropine sulfate 300 micrograms. So let's write that down, 300 micrograms. IM postoperative medication. Now, instead of giving you the supply, it shows you the supply. So it says how many milliliters. We're going to figure out how many milliliters, right? We're going to figure out milliliters. So it says our little label says atropine sulfate injection, USP, which is the United States Pharmacopedia, 0.5 milligrams in that vial, or 0.1 milligrams per milliliter. So what we have on hand is 0.1, because this is a 5 milliliter vial, and it has 0.5 milligrams per complete vial. So if they've converted that down for you, and so what we have on hand is 0.1 milligrams per milliliter, okay? So our order, 300 micrograms over 1. What we have on hand is 1 milliliter equals 0.1 milligrams. Micrograms and milligrams, you have to put in a conversion. So 1 milligram, because we're going to put that on top so we can get rid of it, and we're going to put our microgram on bottom so we can get rid of our micrograms there, is 1,000 micrograms. So now I've got rid of my micrograms. Okay? Now the next thing we're going to do is multiply all the way across the top. So it's 300 times 1 times 1, which is 300, equals 300 over 0.1 times 1,000, right? Right, so that gives us 100. 300 divided by 100 equals 3, right? So we're going to give 3 milliliters. Okay? Hopefully this is making sense to you guys. If it's not, be specific when you ask me questions about what's not making sense or what you don't understand. Now I'm going to work number 5. Number 5 says we have heparin 8,000 units sub-Q BID for prevention of thrombin. Or thrombi, that means to prevent blood clots. So we're going to give 8,000 units per dose. Sub-Q BID, or 2 times a day. And what we have on hand is actually on the next page. No, it's not. What we have, it tells us there, heparin 10,000 units per milliliter. So what we have on hand is 10,000 units per 1 milliliter. Okay, so we're going to start with our order, 8,000 units over 1, and it wants to know how many milliliters. That's what our question asks. Uh-oh, too far down there. How many milliliters are we going to administer? Okay, and what we have on hand is 1 milliliter equals 10,000 units. Right? We got to get rid of our units because it wants to know milliliters. So 8,000 divided by 10,000 is going to be equals 0.8. Or it's going to look like this when you bring it over. So we're going to give 0.8 milliliters. Okay, so you guys are going to work the rest of those problems, and if you have questions, be sure that you are sending me specific questions. All right. Have a great day, and these will be due at the after we do at class. Okay.